साल बाद ऐसा भयानक भूकंप.
Waving like they were in a hurricane. People rushed out into these courtyards and they were standing around. Some people looked very shocked and emotional, putting their arms around each other.
This is the worst to hit this Himalayan nation in over 80 years.
And here there were hundreds of people on the stairs of this tower, inside the tower as well.
之后还有多次余震，人口稠密的加德满都伤亡惨重。
Big avalanches coming down over those phases.
People panicked, they ran helter-skelter.
珠穆朗玛峰也因此出现雪崩，至少有18人丧生。
Because I always believe that if you really want to make a difference in the world, you can never do it alone. No matter how powerful you are, how wealthy you are, the best way to make a difference in the world is inspire others. So I was thinking that by doing such a thing as a walk, it will inspire, other NGOs, other, to, remember the sufferings of the people who are going through. Not only for international, but within Nepali people themselves should help each other. That was my, so walk to remember the people who died. Remember the 1 million people who have lost their home, children who don't have a school, and the people who don't have a community hall, no monastery, to remember them, remember their suffering. That was my main goal.
On 25th April and 12th May 2015, the timeless truth of impermanence taught by the Buddha came alive. And in its wake left 1.2 million Nepalese homeless. An earthquake measuring 7.8 and 7.3 on the Richter scale wreaked immeasurable damage to lives and property that Nepal is still recovering from.
other Pad Yatras, also I always felt that we were doing something meaningful. When we were doing the walk in Ladakh, I think it was because Ladakh and Himalayan region, especially where we were walking near the glacier rivers. And Himalayan glacier rivers are, I think, the source of water for more than a billion population in the world. So we are focusing on that. For example, in Sri Lanka, we were doing a prayer, and we were doing prayer for, I think how many people have lost their life on both sides for more than 30 years. And President himself joined together for the walk. It was Mahinda Rajapaksa. And when we did Pad Yatra in Bhutan, of course, in terms of environment, Bhutan is quite a pristine environment. It was more of a spiritual, paying tribute to holy place of Guru Padma Sambhava, Shabdurung Bishangawan Namgyal, and great other masters. But in Nepal, I will say the focus was more on, compassion, the suffering that people are going through. So I will say that in my own way, one of the most satisfying thing was, I would say one of my satisfying things that I've done in my life.
A 450 kilometers long Pad Yatra was organized jointly by Live to Love and Drukpa Nepal, called A Walk to Remember Nepal.
I used to see the videos of Pad Yatra before His Holiness Gyalwang Drukpa in Ladakh and in India. And before I was so much excited to join this, and I was so much interested from my inner soul. And now I got the opportunity to participate in Pad Yatra in Nepal, which is my motherland.
I thought it's good to come and pray together and come with the Lama and do the ceremonies together. I think it's a very special kind of help.
This yatra was conducted in the most severely affected areas of the Sindhu Palchok district in Nepal. Over 250 Live to Love volunteers and followers of the Drukpa order participated in the Pad Yatra. The walk was led by His Eminence Gelwa Dokhampa of the 1,000-year-old Drukpa order, based in the Himalayas.
One of the most amazing things that I saw during the Nepal Pad Yatra was that in terms of material loss, they don't have a shelter. But in terms of a spirit, I found that they were quite in good spirit. And I think that that is very important, that to be, when we are facing difficulty, to keep our spirit, especially our spirit of helping each other. When we focus ourselves too much on our own suffering, then I think we have a tendency to magnify our own suffering and forget the suffering that others are going through. But when we can overcome a little bit of our own suffering and think of others and come together, then I think there's that sense of community, that sense of helping each other is one of the best ways to overcome any kind of a natural disaster. And I think that we should not really wait for some sort of other international donors or even your country government to do something. Of course, we should expect to some extent, but the question is always, what can I do right now? We may not be earthquake victim right now, but we may be seeing a lot of injustice in the world. We may be seeing a lot of environment being polluted. We might be seeing a lot of, a lot of things, difficulties that people are going through, and we can do in our own way. Even we, the 250 people that we did the Pad Yatra, we are not international, United Nations organization. We are just a simple human being. The question that we asked ourselves was, we as a human being, what can we do within our own limited capacity? And this is something that we should always ask, so that we can make a difference in our own way, and that will collectively add up to making the world better.
While life could not have chosen a more heart-wrenching way to remind us of how frail we and the world we live in is. In the spirit of what Rinpoche says, the selfless efforts of a group of dedicated Buddhist monks and nuns of the Druk Amitabha mountain, popularly known as the Kung Fu nuns, show us what compassion in action is. They refused evacuation and were amongst the first relief workers, distributing food, medicine, and essential supplies to the villages in need. Even as the ground continued to shake with intense aftershocks. They also spearheaded efforts to rebuild hundreds of homes and a community hall for shelter in partnership with Live to Love International. Live to Love International, founded by His Holiness the Gyalwang Drukpa, does not see borders and differences, but sees pain and suffering, and makes every effort to alleviate it. Founded by His Holiness the Gyalwang Drukpa, who is a world-renowned humanitarian, author, environmentalist, and a champion of gender equality.
I am going around the world promoting the idea of Live to Love. This is a key point that we have to understand, that we are actually living in this world to love. Now it is a time for us to bring the result out of the meditation and out of practices of compassion and loving. And the result is action of love. We have to live in this world to love, not to hate.
His Holiness is also a recipient of the United Nations Millennium Development Goals Award and India's Green Hero Award. Live to Love International is a secular non-profit organization which serves the people and the resources of the Himalayas while improving the quality of life for 1.3 billion people throughout the region. They honor the Himalayas by celebrating its diverse culture through education and heritage preservation. Live to Love provides the next generation of Himalayans with an appreciation of their culture and a modern skill set to lead their communities. Two Hollywood stars, Suzanne Sarandon and Michelle Yeoh, global ambassadors of Live to Love International, also visited and lent their support to Nepal. Michelle Yeoh, in fact, was in Nepal during the earthquake.
It's about 2 weeks ago when the first earthquake struck, and I was at that time in Kathmandu. At that present moment, all I could remember was being ushered out of the room where we were, because it happened very quickly. I don't think any of us was really aware, because there was no warning. It just hit us, basically. I think I conquered the biggest thing, which was fear. I felt there was no need to be afraid. It was very important to come back. To show the appreciation for the people who took such great care of us, and to show the people here in Nepal that we care.
I'm very eager to go back to the United States and explain to people there that, yes, there has been an enormous amount of damage, as we've seen on the news, but that there is also an enormous amount of movement to rebuild. And what I like about this project is that everyone gets to rebuild their homes and to have possession of their homes and to make them even safer than they were before, but we'll design them the way they want to be designed.
In the immediate aftermath of the earthquakes, Live to Love built over 200 earthquake and wind-resistant residential structures, as well as engaged in relief work in the worst affected settlements.
We would love your communities to join and be a partner with us, because this is not just about Live to Love. This is about so many different communities and so many different parts of Nepal and so many different parts of the Himalayas. So if you're
Live to Love International, in partnership with Drupa Nepal, are carrying out commemorative efforts to raise funds and awareness.
All the organizations come together so that we can all help each other fundraise and help each other raise awareness and show New York City how powerful and big the Himalayan community really is.
The Pad Yatra commenced on November 15th from the home of the Kung Fu nuns, the Druk Amitabha mountain.
Nepal Pad Yatra we did for, one was because from a spiritual point of view, during that time in a place called Barua, 80 people died in one place. And not only did they die, but even monasteries were damaged. Even some monks, I think they lost their life. So I was told that they reached such a pathetic, stage that there were no monks to do, last rites and prayer, and they were doing prayer through mobile phone. In a way, true, our international aid agencies must have given them monies and help, etc. But I don't think that the feeling of peace, sense of sadness of losing loved ones could be that overcome, because that many of these areas were Buddhist areas. So when the last rites were even not performed, I don't think they felt that they could overcome their grief. Because when we went there and when we had more than, I think, 200 participants and more than 80 were monks, and many of them very senior monks who have done 3-year retreats, etc. And when we did the Changwa, the prayer for them, they were saying, more than the financial help that we gave them, that gave them a sense of peace that now they are deceased or kind of well looked after. So that's why everywhere we went, we were chanting the Mani prayers, all the place, every place where they died, we recited prayers by their name. So in a way, it was more like healing their mind and spirit. That was one motivation.
यहाँ पदयात्रीहरू वर्ष आउनुभयो हाम्रो भूकम्पको बेलामा यहाँ मलम पनि पाएन मह पाएन प पाएन त्यतिको अवस्थामा साह्रै गाह्रो भएको थियो हामीले कसरी चाहिँ मरेको मान्छेहरूले कसरी चाहिँ हामीले नर्कमा छ कि स्वर्गमा छ भन्ने बिचमा हामीले सोच पनि सोच्नु सकेका थिएन आज रेम्बोर्से आउनुभयो म पनि उहाँलाई सेवा गर्नु पाउँदा उहाँलाई केही कुराहरू उहाँलाई त्यो गर्नु पाउँदा साह्रै खुसी लाग्यो उहाँ आउनुभयो अझै अब हामीलाई ढुक्क भयो कि अब रेम्बोर्से आउनु भएर मह पनि पायो फ पनि पायो अब मर्ने मान्छेले चिर शान्ति पाउँछ भन्ने आशा छ पक्कै पनि पुग्छ होला भन्ने आशा राख्दै साह्रै राम्रो प्रोग्राम भयो साह्रै राम्रो गर्नुभयो उहाँहरू पदयात्रा गरेर आदि गरेर उहाँ आउनुभएको यता हिँडेर आउनुभएको साथीहरूलाई पनि रेम्बोर्सेलाई पनि विशेष मेरो तर्फबाट धन्यवाद दिन्छु.
And second motivation was that we had Live to Love International had already done a lot of work, especially the nuns of Drupa Amitabha. During the earthquake, they were doing a lot of things. During the earthquake, many people were, of course, very active. But after that, what had happened? Were they better? Or internationally forgotten, because world attention is very short and there are so many things happening in the world. So we went there to physically also, we gave some help, financial help, mostly to schools, and the monasteries were our focus. Because school is the education, which gives them the ability to survive in the world. And monasteries are where I think their education of the heart comes. And also I found out that many places where monasteries were damaged, they were saying that monastery is not just a monastery but a community hall. When the people die, that's where they come together, pray. When they have a marriage ceremony. So when they lose a monastery, it's like losing a community, has no place to gather. No sense of community were being lost. So we were helping them financially also. Whatever money we raised, we helped them. But lastly, most importantly, my motivation was that I want to raise awareness of the world. Because that time it was, I think, more than a year had passed. I think a year about to pass. And more than 1 million people had lost their homes. And even after, I think at that time, even after when we went that time, people were still living in the shelters. The world had forgotten about them.
Nepal is home to the tallest mountain in the world, the Mount Everest. The people of Nepal have shown to the world that while the earth may shake their homes and break their hearts, they will not allow their spirits to be broken.
There's something that is so beautiful about the Nepali people. They celebrate the Dasain holidays, the harvest holiday, and the New Year holiday. And they get on with the life with a very courageous spirit. We call in English, we call resilience. So they come out of the trauma and the tragedy with some kind of encouragement just from life itself. And so they're actually a very big model for the rest of us.
I feel that usually when we do, when we do meditation we always talk about compassion. We talk about being selfless, and not consuming too much so it doesn't harm the environment. But often it doesn't really translate into action. And I found out that through my own experience, when we do go on the Pad Yatra, we are consuming less because we are just consuming what we have on our back. And we are going by walk, so we are not, I think, carbon neutral, like I say, zero carbon footprint. And in terms of practice also, I think that when hundreds of people have to go together, and there is a time that you do need a lot of selflessness. Of course, when we do prayers and all of that, we Buddhists, we talk a lot about compassion and etc. But sometimes I find that it becomes a lot of theoretical. And we get lost, and sometimes we get lost in the trappings of the religion, trappings of Buddhism. It's, for example, I always say that, how can you say that I'm chanting Om Mam Benzam Guru Pema Siddham, Benzam Guru Tum is happening, yet in front of your eyes, animals are being killed, people are hungry, rivers are getting polluted, and fishes and all being. Yet you just want to do Benzam Guru. It's just that. So sometimes I feel that if we are not careful, we become kind of pretend spiritual practitioner. So at least for me, it doesn't really matter, the religious forms or it doesn't matter. But what it matters to me, for me, the essence of spiritualism is to be able to make a difference in the life of others. As long as you are doing this, you are on the right path. Whether from outside how you look doesn't matter. If you're not, then I think if whatever you are doing is not benefiting others, in my view, I think we have lost the track. So, for example, in Pad Yatra, we have a joke saying that in the Pad Yatra, the one who reaches the first is the loser, because that means you didn't care about your fellow Pad Yatris, but just you want to reach first. So, in generally speaking, I find that Pad Yatra is a kind of place where practice is not just chanting, visualizing, but you are really interacting with the world, the nature, and putting into practice. So I will say one of the Nepal Pad Yatra was one of the most meaningful things that myself and all the yatris could do.
So it's been very, awakening kind of experience, and thanks to Live to Love, and I know like Carrie Lee and the president and the International Live to Love organization and all the different branches worked so hard, and they did such a great job to organize also with the Bhutanese group leading and all the local logistics leaders to organize so that when we meet people in the village, we get a chance to interact with them and then give some small support, then invite them to come into partnership for bigger projects to reconstruct. So it's a very wonderful chance.
While health is most missed and cherished in times of sickness, it is the grim reality of the earthquake's aftermath that shook Nepal and the world to assess and appreciate what we have, and lessen our discontent with what we do not have.
It is my view that we should not focus too much on the result, because result is something that is dependent on so many people's karma or causal conditions which are beyond ourselves. And we're not talking about one or two, but we are talking about country level. Whenever you want to do something big, I think you cannot really focus on the result that much. So generally my policy is, result is beyond our control. And we are not a creator. We don't believe in creator that I can create others' life. So that's why I always focus mostly on intention. Was my intention pure or not? Was my effort, did I put my full effort or not? That's always been my focus. So I don't have that much expectation from anything that I do in my life. But at the same time, I must say that in many ways I was quite satisfied, because I was told that all the places where we have been, I think they were so happy. They were so happy that, as I was saying earlier, that more than the financial help, that more than 80 monks and 200 participants walked all the more than 300 kilometers, did prayer, did chanting, gave them consolation. And I think they were really happy. I heard they were saying that usually we have to invite the monks and do some offering. And this time the monks themselves were coming, doing prayer and giving us. I think they were really touched, because I remember one incident that in this place called Parua, where more than 80 people died. So organized in such a way that we were staying only for one night. So I was complaining to them, I said, no, this is not good. This is the place where 80 people die. How can I I arrive like in the late night, just do short prayer and then go? I think I must stay one more night. And that time the fuel shortage was going on. So they were saying, okay, because I was quite stubborn. So they were saying, okay, Rambush, if you are that stubborn, okay. What about food? We have no food. So I said, doesn't matter, we go, we eat less. Then later tomorrow we stayed one whole extra day from morning to night. We did the Changwa very elaborately, did a prayer, joined of them so nicely. And they were, we're so sad also, because all the people, when I talk to them, they've lost their father, mother, brother, sister. But in a way very, kind of satisfying that we could do something for them from spiritual point of view as material. And the next day, I was telling them that what happened? We don't seem to have food shortage problem. And then we found out that it was the earthquake victims who fed us. Each of them from all the small houses, they all bought, little bit of potato, and we had more than enough. And we found out that earthquake has damaged the house, but not the farm. So they didn't have food shortage problem. They just didn't have a shelter.
प्रोग्रामहरु फेरि फेरि लामाहरु आउनु भयो भने राम्रो हुनेछ अनि हाम्रो यो प्रोग्राम एकदमै राम्रो भयो यसरी के रे यत्रो टाढादेखि हिँड्दै हिँड्दै पैदल यात्रा गरेर आउनु भयो र यस्तो मानी गर्नु भयो उहाँहरुको लागि फुवा गरिदिनु भयो त्यसको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद अनि त्यसको लागि हामी धेरै खुसी भएको छौं
I will say that that fact that that they felt like that I will say that also I've been quite satisfied with the result. And also after that event we inspired by the walk, Live to Love International in New York also organized a walk on anniversary of the earthquake. So we had more than 2,000 participants in New York from Himalayan country, including Bhutanese, and all of them came together and did a walk in New York to remind the world again, where everybody is so busy, and could come together beyond religion, beyond just on the basis of humanity and compassion. I will say that it's success.
The Nepal Pad Yatra concluded on the 23rd of November in Chautara, the district headquarters of Sindhupalchok.
I want to appeal not just to the governments or NGOs or maybe the international community, but actually to every people who has a house. We should remember people who are living in a shelter, 1.2 million Nepali, how they are surviving. Every parent who are sending their children very nicely to the school in a very nice uniform. We should remember the thousands of schools destroyed and how many school children are surviving, in what kind of shelter they are studying. And many of us who have our own mandis, nice mandis, beautiful mandis, doing our marriages, doing our gewa, whatever. Let us remember how many other people have lost their spiritual heritage. They have no refuge. So my appeal is not only to the government, NGO, but every one of us. Because I believe that every one of us can do our own small ways to help. Media can help in their own way, individual can help in their own way, monasteries can help. Every individual have their own way of helping.
And while we may never be able to assess or quantify the actual impact of the devastation inflicted by the earthquakes, the United Nations estimates that as many as 8 million of the 28 million Nepalese population have had their lives disrupted by the earthquakes.
For the victims of the earthquake, to those that we could meet personally, and many those we could not meet personally, I want to say that from our side, from the Live to Love International, from the participants, Pad Yatras, for myself, in terms of our prayer, even though we could not go every part of Nepal, we did our prayer, keeping all the people who lost, more than 10,000 people lost their life, we did our prayer. In terms of effort also, we are definitely going to continue to our best. To all the participants that accompanied us, I think that this is something, a moment that I think we should cherish, because among all the achievements that we may have in our life, is nothing compared to achievement of having a meaningful life, a moment of our life where we could make a difference in the life of others. Especially during the Pad Yatra, we could make life in a way, life of millions of victims, be it through the media, be it through our own effort. And that is something that we should cherish. But not only cherish, but I think that not just cherish and forget. But I think this should encourage us to do further more meaningful things in our life. And it is always my own aspiration that even though we may not be able to do 100% meaningful life, but I think at least 50% meaningful life. 50% selfish, 50% meaningful life, and making a different life for others. Then I think our life, anyway, life is going to be, in a way, seizing every second. Life is going to end sooner or later for all of us, but I think we will have a kind of a satisfaction that our life had a meaning for others. And I think also that now with the global, climate changes, all of us has to be ready to face these difficult challenges, every part of the world. And I think that one of the best ways we will be able to face this challenge will not necessarily be making our house stronger, putting more steel, getting the expert engineer. But I think we can face this when we are ready to expand our heart and say that when these natural disasters happened, I am going to help others. I am going to, within my own power, within my own capacity, at least within my own area, I am going to be there to help others, to make a difference, to support each other, and inspire others to do the same. And this is, I think, how we can be ready for the natural disasters that may happen in any way, any corner of the world.